They thought walking into court with your mistress on your arm showed strength. Brandon Hayes sat in the divorce proceedings smiling, while the woman he'd been cheating with sat in the gallery behind him. What he didn't know was that his mistress had brought receipts, marriage certificates, birth certificates, and 3 children who called him Daddy. And in 10 devastating minutes, Brandon's carefully constructed double life would collapse in front of a judge, 2 wives, and a courtroom full of witnesses. The divorce was supposed to be simple. Brandon Hayes, 38, real estate agent, wanted out of his marriage to Linda Hayes. They'd been married 12 years, 2 children, Sophie, age 10, and Jake, age 7. The marriage had been rocky for years, or so Brandon claimed. Linda sat at the defendant's table, her hands folded in her lap. She wore a simple gray dress. Her lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Kim, had told her to stay calm, to let Brandon reveal himself. Brandon sat across from her at the plaintiff's table, looking confident in an expensive charcoal suit. His lawyer, a smug man named Tom Brennan, was already shuffling papers, ready to paint Linda as the problem. But what caught everyone's attention was the woman sitting in the second row of the gallery. She was striking, mid-30s, long dark hair, designer clothes. She sat with her hands clasped, leaning forward slightly, watching Brandon with an expression that seemed like support, devotion. Linda had seen her before, at Brandon's office holiday party 2 years ago, at a restaurant 6 months ago when Linda had driven by. This was Vanessa, Brandon's mistress, and Brandon had brought her to his divorce hearing. Judge Maria Santos entered, black robe swishing. She was in her 50s, with steel-gray hair pulled into a tight bun and eyes that missed nothing. "This is a dissolution of marriage hearing," Judge Santos began, settling into her seat. "Mr. Hayes is petitioning for divorce from Mrs. Linda Hayes on grounds of irreconcilable differences. He's also seeking 50-50 custody of the minor children and a division of marital assets." Tom Brennan stood up, adjusting his tie with a flourish. "Your Honor, my client has tried for years to make this marriage work, but Mrs. Hayes has become distant, cold, unwilling to participate in the partnership that marriage requires." Linda's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. "Mr. Hayes has been the primary breadwinner," Tom continued. "He's built a successful real estate business, he's provided a stable home, and he believes the children would benefit from equal time with both parents." Judge Santos looked at the file. "Mrs. Hayes, do you contest the divorce?" Linda shook her head slowly. "No, Your Honor, I don't want to be married to him anymore." Brandon's eyebrows shot up. He'd expected a fight, expected tears. However, Patricia Kim stood, placing her hands flat on the table. "We do contest Mr. Hayes's characterization of the marriage, and we have evidence that fundamentally changes the nature of these proceedings." Tom Brennan waved his hand dismissively. "Your Honor, Ms. Kim is going to try to muddy the waters with accusations of infidelity, but that's not relevant to—" "It's not infidelity we're discussing, it's bigamy." The courtroom went silent. Brandon's confident smile faltered. His hand gripped the edge of the table. Judge Santos leaned forward. "Explain." Patricia gestured toward the gallery. "Your Honor, the woman sitting in the second row is Vanessa Torres. She is not Mr. Hayes's mistress. She is his wife." Every head in the courtroom turned. Vanessa stood up slowly. She didn't look shocked. She looked calm, prepared. Brandon's face drained of color. "That's a lie. Vanessa she's just a friend. She's here for moral support." "Is that true, Miss Torres?" Judge Santos asked, her voice sharp. Vanessa walked forward, her heels clicking on the courtroom floor. She reached into her purse and pulled out a folded document. She handed it to the bailiff, who brought it to the judge. "That's our marriage certificate, Your Honor," Vanessa said, her voice steady. "We were married in Las Vegas 4 years ago, September 14th, 2020. Judge Santos unfolded the document. Her eyes scanned it. Then she looked up at Brandon. "Mr. Hayes, were you married to Ms. Torres while still married to Mrs. Hayes?" Brandon's mouth opened. No sound came out. His hands were shaking now. He turned to his lawyer, eyes wide with panic. Tom Brennan was scrambling, flipping through his own files. "Your Honor, I was never informed. This is the first I'm hearing." "Answer the question, Mr. Hayes," Judge Santos said, her voice ice. Brandon swallowed hard. There was a ceremony in Vegas, but it wasn't. I didn't think it was legally binding. We were drinking. It was a joke." Miss Torres's expression didn't change. "It wasn't a joke to me, Brandon. You signed the papers. So did I. We had witnesses, and we've been living as husband and wife for 4 years. She reached into her purse again and pulled out more documents, photos. She handed them to the bailiff. "We have a home together in Henderson, Nevada. We filed joint tax returns, and we have 3 children." The courtroom erupted in gasps. Linda's hand flew to her mouth. Her eyes filled with tears, but not from sadness, from rage. Judge Santos held up the photos. They showed Brandon and Vanessa at birthday parties, at a hospital with a newborn, at a park with 3 small children, a boy and 2 girls, all under 6 years old. "You have children with her?" Linda's voice cracked as she stood up, pointing at Vanessa. "3 children? While we were married?" Brandon stood up, his chair scraping loudly. "Linda, please, I can explain." "Sit down," Judge Santos commanded. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried the weight of absolute authority. Brandon sank back into his chair, his hands covering his face. Vanessa continued, her voice maddeningly calm. "I came here today because I saw the court summons on Brandon's desk. I didn't know about Linda. He told me his first wife had died in a car accident. He showed me fake obituaries. He said he was a widower." She turned to look at Linda. "I'm sorry, I had no idea you existed until 3 days ago." Linda was shaking, her lawyer's hand on her shoulder, trying to steady her. "So let me understand this," Judge Santos said, removing her glasses and pinching the bridge of her nose. "Mr. Hayes, you are legally married to both of these women. You have 2 children with Mrs. Hayes in Portland and 3 children with Ms. Torres in Nevada. You'd been maintaining 2 separate homes, 2 separate families for 4 years." Brandon said nothing. His lawyer looked like he wanted to disappear. Judge Santos replaced her glasses and opened a legal reference book on her desk. "Bigamy is a felony in the state of Oregon. It carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison and $125,000 fine." Brandon's head snapped up. "Prison, Your Honor? I didn't mean to—" "You didn't mean to commit a crime?" Judge Santos was now razor sharp. "You accidentally married 2 women? You accidentally fathered 5 children with 2 different wives?" She turned to the bailiff. "Contact the district attorney's office. I'm referring this case for criminal prosecution immediately." The bailiff nodded and left the courtroom. Judge Santos looked at Linda. "Mrs. Hayes, this divorce petition is void. You cannot divorce someone who was never legally married to you in the first place. Mr. Hayes's marriage to you is valid. His marriage to Ms. Torres is bigamous and therefore void." Ms. Torres sat down heavily, her calm facade finally cracking. Tears streamed down her face. "Ms. Torres," the judge continued, her voice softening slightly, "you are not legally married. You were deceived. I recommend you contact an attorney regarding child support for your 3 children." She turned back to Brandon, and the softness vanished. "Mr. Hayes, you are to surrender your passport to this court immediately. You are not to leave the state. You are not to contact either of these women, except through attorneys for the welfare of your children." Brandon's lawyer finally spoke, his voice weak.
"Your Honor, my client has no prior criminal record. Your client is a bigamist who defrauded 2 women and fathered 5 children under false pretenses. I suggest you prepare a very good defense because the state of Oregon takes marriage fraud seriously." She banged her gavel. "This hearing is adjourned. Bailiff, escort Mr. Hayes out through the side door. The media is likely already gathering outside." 2 hours later, Brandon was arrested and charged with bigamy. So, you think that happiness depends on not getting caught? This is the story of what happens when the secrets come to light. Brandon Hayes. He thought he could compartmentalize his life. 2 families, 2 homes, 2 versions of himself. He thought confidence would carry him through, that bringing Vanessa to court would show Linda he'd moved on, that no one would ever connect the dots.